Good evening and welcome to Success in the City. My name's Helen Webster and I'm with the lovely
Des Flanagan standing in for the lovely Sandra Scott. And our guest this week is the equally lovely
Angela
Ange.
Preston.
That's the one.
Angela Preston.
Yeah. Thank you for joining us, Ange, and a massive thank you to Des for stepping in for Sandra this evening. So that's really good. And some people might already recognise Angela. She has been on before, but she's done so much since that time. So we're having a catch up and finding out what she's been up to in the time that hasn't been with us. So brilliant, thanks. So we always start off by shout out to the kids, any young people, little people, anything who've done amazing things this week. Des, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I'll give a shout out to Ruby O'Neill. You know the girl I was talking to you about the other day from the judo club.
Oh yeah,
The L21 club. She's just won bronze in the Welsh Open in the under 78 kilogram category in the juniors. So well done, young Ruby.
Good.
Yeah,
Yeah,
she's great. She's great.
Amazing. Well done, Ruby.
Sorry.
Well done, Ruby.
Yeah, well done,
I'm
Ruby.
trying to think what. Barry's decided to bring up a great big load of food. Can I just show you what he brought up?
Yeah, share with us. Well done, Barry.
Look, now you'll have to go down. I'm on the radio. Off you go. Off you go.
You can come in, Barry, and say hello.
Look at the amount of food. Look, he's run away.
He's run away with it.
He's run away with it. Off you go, Joe.
Run away with it.
If proof was needed that it's a live show.
I'm sitting here looking at them going, and I had to do it because it would look weird. I'm so sorry, Helen and Des.
No, have a little snack as you're going along. That's fine. You can do that. That's all right.
I'll wait. I'll wait.
Oh,
I'll wait.
Well,
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry about that. But anyway,
poor Barry's cooking away. Who's your shout out to, Ange?
Well, I started in a school today, Hel, and I got a few. I won't give the name out, but there was one little boy who really stood out for me. So I'm back in King's leadership. I'm running the program I'm working with them for the next 12 weeks,
Brilliant.
Running my open door program. And I'm working today. I was working with year 8, and this little boy, he was unbelievable. He knew all about personal development. He's 12. He knew how it can change your life and the impact it can have on the choices that you make. So I'm giving a shout out to him because he just blew my mind, and he wants to be a computer scientist. So I said to him, you're going to be a computer scientist because of all what you've just told me and how you conduct yourself. He was just unbelievable. So it's a big shout out to him.
Yeah,
and the
so
school,
year 9. They're about 12, 13, aren't they? Year 9.
Year 8. No, year 8.
Year 8. Sorry. So yeah,
he's
7,
12.
8. Yeah, 12.
He's 12. Yeah.
Amazing.
Honestly, unbelievable. I said, I wish I would have known about personal development at your age because my life would have been completely different from a very young age. I only got to learn all about personal development and the impact it has on you as a person when I was around 40, 42. I was just sort of plodding on. And then it was around that age that I started to understand about it through going on courses and programs in the company I was working at. But 12, it's just, I was just blown away. So I give mine to him.
Oh, brilliant. Massive shout out. So I'm going to give an unusual shout out, okay? Because it's not a person. I'm giving a shout out to my dog, Poppy, who is like my child type thing. So in the school where we're working, we've got a few young people who love dogs. And so Poppy has done her therapy dog training. But the therapy dog training was me. It's not about the dog. It's all about me as like the owner and stuff. And she's been in last week and this week, and the difference that she's made by being in school is unbelievable. So for all of those people who, the power of like pet therapy is unbelievable. So we have one young person who every morning he spends the first half an hour with her. And in that half an hour, we take her for a little walk. We have a little chat, depending on what we're doing. And that just changes his day for the whole of the day because he's just calmer. And then today we had a new young person, and she was just glued to him. She was just glued to this new young boy, and wouldn't leave his side. And it's just to see it, like the power that the
Great.
offer is just
Yeah.
unbelievable. And
It's,
she's fab anyway, but when you see it, like, and you see it in act, you think that's incredible. So I'm
yeah.
giving a shout out to Poppy Dog.
Yeah, well done, Poppy Dog. You
Excellent,
deserve
Poppy.
that shout out.
Yeah,
Do you know,
yeah,
I was running a program in a school, an alternative education school, and they have a dog that goes in, like, it's one of the teachers' dogs and goes in
yeah,
every day. And the kids, when they're feeling a bit down or they're getting a little bit anxious or anything, they go and sit with the dog and it calms
yeah,
them down.
yeah.
That's amazing idea, isn't it?
Yeah, it's unbelievable because the
It's
dog
great.
Yeah,
gives genuine love, doesn't he?
Yeah,
yeah,
You know,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah, definitely.
genuine love all the
Amazing.
time. So
yeah.
yeah. So that's my shout out, just to Poppy Dog. Yeah. So success this week for you personally, something that's happened to you that's been fantastic. Des, do you want to go first?
Yeah, well, to be honest, they're both medical. It's
Brilliant.
I don't know how your doctors are, but it's like living in a third world country at the minute. Um,
Mm.
so we managed to find a doctor that would do Lynn's cortisone injection
Brilliant.
after waiting 3 months and still no appointment. So we had to go against all what I believe in and get it done, And I managed to get a dentist appointment for tomorrow. So let's
Very
even
good.
so it's a double whammy.
That's a light getting a
We'll be
letter from
dancing
our
the week,
Lord.
dancing and singing the weekend. Yeah, so they were
Brilliant.
my successes this week. Yeah.
Massive success as well done. What about you, Ange?
Yeah. It's probably going back to work today, Hel. I've been off, haven't I? So I work, all of my work is term time. I
Yeah.
have a few private clients that I work with throughout the summer as well in the 6 weeks holidays, but I went back to the schools today. So my biggest success is going back. I just thrive in that environment with young people, and I couldn't be happier. So that's probably my biggest success, and my son being home because you know about my son's story is he's been through an awful, really bad time, and he's come home and he's doing well. He's doing really, really well. So that's probably my biggest. Well, it is my biggest success because
Yeah.
your kids like Poppy, they're your life, aren't they? So to see Joseph happy and thriving, that makes me happy.
Oh, and it makes everybody else happy, Ange, because everybody's invested in Joseph, and how well he's doing. It's lovely to hear
Yeah.
that. So we're all
Thank,
absolutely delighted for all of you. For all of you,
thank
it's
you, Hel.
delighting.
Thank you.
And my success is that yesterday I started uni. So Angela Preston was one of
Well
my
done.
sort of inspirations. So
Oh,
I remember meeting you for a coffee. I was just saying, in Hope Uni, and I'd gone to have a coffee with Ange about something, and she was in uni. She went, "I've got a quick spare hour. Come and have a coffee with me." And I remember going in, and we had a coffee, and I thought, "This is a buzzy environment. This is really good." And I come away, and I thought, "Oh, I never went to uni." And then it's all changed now of how. So I'm doing a senior leadership apprenticeship. So I'm
amazing.
classed as an apprentice going, which the stuff you can do as an apprentice now is phenomenal. And when I went in yesterday, I was thinking of you, Ange, and I thought, oh, I remember going to see Ange, and she's like flying and past and everything and onto her next stage, and I thought, I'm just starting, and that time has gone really quick. From
But
when
you're
you think,
younger
oh,
than
you
I
take
was.
eight.
Hell, it flies over. You're younger than I was when I went back to university. I went back
So
at
I'm 50
52.
now.
I was 52 when I
Oh,
went
were
back.
you?
Yeah,
Ah,
yeah. I was 55 when I well, no, I was 56 actually in the February. I graduated in January. And so I had to put my dissertation back because we were having a
yeah.
tough time with Joseph. I should have graduated in June 23, but I graduated in January 25, 24. So I was
Ah,
52. So you're younger than me. So you've got some years ahead of me.
uh,
But do you know, I don't
I've got a
think
head
there's
start
any.
on you.
Yeah, you have, and I don't think it's when it's right for you. And do you know, I start like you. I was inspired by my friend Rose. I went into work in hope with Rose running my programs, and I got in there and I thought, I don't want to leave. I don't want to leave. I want to be here forever. I wanted to sleep there and everything because I loved it. And I said to Rose, how can I go about applying to, do a course? I did my
Yeah.
personal statement. Rose did me a reference, and I applied for politics and creative writing. And I was like, when I got passed, I was like, oh my God, I've really been passed. And I finished in
Oh,
January. And so you love it. You just will, honest to God, you'll just love it.
really.
You'll have the
Yeah,
best
I'm really
time.
looking forward to it. Really looking forward to it. So I think that's my success this week. Yeah. Okay,
And rightly so.
we're gonna play this or that. But I've got impossible decisions. So I found these.
Oh,
Ooh.
So I'm gonna shuffle them and read them out as my this or that. So Des, have you got your
oh,
this or that ready?
Yeah.
Go on, you
Going to
go the
go
first
first.
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, Angela, I'll do this to you. Imagine you're staying in a farmhouse, right? And you get up the following morning, you go down for your breakfast, and there's toast. What would you put on it? Would you rather have marmalade or jam? Homemade jam?
jam.
Jam.
Yeah.
Okay.
On my holidays, I'd rather have marmalade.
Okay. Now that's interesting. Why?
Because I love marmalade, but I wouldn't want it like every single day. So I think I only ever have marmalade when I'm on my holidays. So I think it might
Yeah.
psychologically make me think of holidays, so I enjoy it more. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
marmalade on toast is like,
Okay.
yeah.
When
What
I
would you
thought of
have?
the question, I'd have jam. But do you know what the difference is between marmalade and jam? I looked it up once I did the question.
And
It's
what was the biggest one?
with marmalade, you have to use a citrus fruit to make it.
Yeah,
So
Yeah.
like the rind of an orange or whatever,
lime
or a
and stuff.
lemon,
Yeah, yeah.
or lime, that kind of thing. And that's the only difference between the two.
I would have guessed that. Yeah, I'd have guessed citrus rather than yeah. Interesting.
Yeah.
Now we know for Who Wants to Be a Millionaire.
Yeah.
I live on a
Yeah.
farm, don't I? And where I live,
Yeah.
we have a lane where all the berries are, and people go berry picking. And I bought myself.
Yeah.
I went to a Chatterton House, is it called? For
Mhm.
Christmas up in Derbyshire, and I bought a book on how to make scones. It's just collected dust because I haven't collected any berries, and I haven't learned how to make scones. All it's done is collect dust.
Get your tips from Des. He's
Sandra
an
makes a good
award-winning
jam.
scones maker,
I know
aren't
he
you,
makes
Des?
Yeah,
yeah.
come round. I'll show you how to make my award-winning scones.
I
But
know. I've
Sandra
had your
makes
award
great
winning.
jam.
Yeah,
Does
Sandra
she?
Yeah,
makes jam. Yeah.
Oh,
Mhm.
oh.
Yeah.
So your
yeah, she
scones and
makes great
Sandra's
jam.
jam. I'll just
Yeah.
eat them. I
Yeah.
won't
I'm
make.
gonna say I love you.
I've had your scones, Des. You
Yeah,
gave me the scones. They were lovely.
That's right. Yeah. I've had them, haven't
award-winning,
you? Yeah.
Yeah, they're
award-winning.
gorgeous,
Award-winning. Yeah.
delicious. Yeah.
Right, Des. I'm gonna ask you this first, Des.
Go
Would
on.
you rather have to dance every time you hear music, or have to sing along to any song you hear?
I'd probably sing along to any song that I hear. Yeah. You get fed up dancing all the time, wouldn't you? I
You'd
would
be dead
anyway. I'd get
skinny
out of
though.
breath. Well,
You'd be dead skinny though, wouldn't you?
that's true. Yeah. Yeah.
What
No,
about
sing
you,
along.
Ange?
Hell, you know what? I'm going to be greedy. I'd probably do both.
Yeah.
I'd probably sing along and dance, because when you hear a song you like, you dance, you tap your feet, don't you, and you sing the song. So
Yeah.
I'd definitely go with the bit about losing weight. I'd like to do that. And I can't sing, so I just have to. I make my own words up as well. When I don't know words of a song, I make them up, put my
Yeah.
own in.
I'm
So
exactly the same.
there's probably more chance of me dancing than singing.
I'm the same.
If
I'm
I'm
with you,
honest.
Ange. I'm exactly the
Yeah.
same. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Good.
Go on, Des.
Okay. Carrying on the musical theme then. What would you rather go to? Would you rather go to a country night where you all get dressed up as cowboys and cowgirls and do loads of line dancing, or go to a rock and roll night with the blue suede shoes and the Teddy Boys and all that kind of stuff, where you're jiving all night. Helen, I'll ask you first. Go on.
Oh, that's dead odd, that. I think I would rather go to a country and western, like like a barn dance type one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, yeah, that's cool. Yeah. What about you, Ange?
I'd do the same. I'd go to the barn dance.
Yeah.
I'd love to go
Yeah.
to a barn dance. You know where they've got the hails of hay.
Yeah.
So when we moved
Yeah.
in here, not last year, the year before, the couple a few doors up were having an engagement party, and I was furious because we were going away early hours the next morning, so we couldn't go. And they had all the bales of hay, and they had a group on, and it was on the farm. It was all. Oh, it just looked like it was a brilliant night. But I
Yeah,
thought
it
if
would
I
be
go,
good. Yeah.
I'm not getting up to go away, so I couldn't
Oh
go.
wow. Yeah,
So
that
I
would
would,
have been.
I'd definitely go with the barn dance.
Yeah. What about you, Des?
Yeah. Do you know what? I think it's an age thing. I think years ago I'd have had the rock and roll nights all day long, but now I'd like to go to a country one and sit and just drink Jack Daniels all night and just watch everyone line dancing,
Making a fool of
yeah,
themselves.
and yeah, but the good nights and the fun nights as well, the country nights, yeah, and some great music as well. Some great music.
Well, I've suddenly become a country and western fan. I quite like it.
I love it. I do. I love it.
So, yeah. Okay. Ange, I'm going to ask you first. Would you rather have a lifetime supply of chocolate or crisps?
Definitely crisps, Hal. I'm not really a chocolate person. I can go forever and ever and ever without chocolate. But crisp, you know what I did last night? Barry gets these thins. Can I give a shout out where they're from? They're from Home and Bargain, but they're lovely. They're only I taste all I put it on my tongue and get all the taste off it, and then eat it. I had the full lot. There's four little segments with about 15 crisp in each. Only little round ones. I had the lot.
Yeah.
Couldn't eat my dinner.
Oh.
But I had the lot.
Yeah,
So definitely crisp. I love Doritos. I love any kind of crisp. Chocolate, no.
What about you, Des?
Definitely chocolate. I couldn't imagine a world without chocolate.
I know.
No.
What about you, Hal?
100% chocolate. 100%.
Really?
Yeah.
Really?
As I've got me marvelous creations here, which is I'm addicted to that at the moment. Okay, go on, Des. Your go.
Okay, so imagine a remote island, right? And you buy a 10-bedroom villa, and it's got the pools and the tennis courts and all the rest of it, But what would you rather be? Would you rather be the architect who designed it, or the interior designer who decorated it all? And ask you that.
I'd be the interior designer.
Yeah. Okay.
I'd like to do all the rooms up.
Yeah.
I'd probably do a different theme in every room.
That's interesting. Yeah. Well, you help.
I'd like the architect. I'd like to be the architect to design it.
Yeah.
Like then you could a funky whatever you wanted, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Architect, I think. What about you, Des?
I'd probably like to be the designer. I'd like to have an eye for that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Plus the fact the architects, it's a lot of messing dealing with the local authorities and all that kind of stuff. So I couldn't be bothered with that. But the interior designer, and I've met a couple of great ones in my time.
Amazing.
One from was American. She was outstanding. Some of the things she'd done. Interior designer. Yeah.
Do you know what I'm looking to do? This is my goal over the next 3 years, is to sell my house and buy land and buy 2 containers. We're working on it now. I've done all the pricing and everything. Have you ever seen the containers done?
Yeah. Like the shipping containers, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So We're buying 2 containers and we're buying land, so we'll be mortgage free, and we're gonna
Yeah.
do the containers up. In Wales, I want the containers, I wanna buy the land, and it's not expensive either to buy. It's you'd be completely surprised at how much it's gonna cost for the
Yeah.
land and for the containers. I've literally put everything in, even down to the septic tank and everything that you need, the solar
Amazing.
panels for your electricity, because I love doing inside anything. I love decorating and I love designing all inside and everything. So that's hopefully gonna be our next project in the next 2 years. So we'll be completely mortgage free, and we'll be
Oh, that'd
living
be
in 2
amazing.
containers. We'll be living in 2 containers. So it's funny you should ask that question, Des.
Yeah.
Ba
Ah,
so Barry's gonna be the architect, and I'm gonna be the
and you're
designer.
going to be the interior designer.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
should
Perfect.
spend the money.
mm,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My last one, Des. Would you rather be able to visit the moon or go on a round the world cruise?
Oh, round the world cruise. Yeah. Yeah. Round the world cruise. Yeah.
What about you, Ange?
The same, round the world cruise.
Yeah.
What about
I'd
you,
love
Hal?
to go to the I'd love to go to the moon because I think the view of Earth from space is like one of the most fascinating views ever.
Mm,
But
Yeah.
I think I'd rather go around the world because there's so many things to see, isn't there, and do and
yeah,
Yeah.
visit
yeah.
and stuff. So,
And you might get
so yeah,
stuck
I
on
think
the
that's the
moon, Hal.
one.
There's people stuck on
Oh,
the moon at the minute, isn't there?
yeah, that'd be all right because somebody would come and get me. I'd be all right.
Yeah. Mm.
Brilliant. Okay,
Cool.
so we've done all this, all that. We're gonna hand it over to Ange. She's gonna tell us what she's been up to in the last. I think it might be 2 years, Ange, since you've been on our show.
It is about 2 years, Hal. It
Mhm.
is,
Yeah.
yeah.
So, what you're doing with your program, how it's all working, and Des and I will ask questions as we go.
Okie doke, okie doke.
So
So
over
you
to you.
you want me to, oh, sorry, I thought you were gonna,
Yeah.
oh, right, okay. So, I think the last time I was on, I spoke more about what I was doing before I set up me business, wasn't I?
Yeah.
The last 2 years I've been really, really busy with programs, and funny enough, I had a Teams meeting yesterday with, a big organisation, a great big organisation that hopefully I'll be successful with getting funding for the programs. Um, and if
Well
that
done.
comes off, then it'll help massively with me reaching a bigger audience. So from that, when I was putting all the presentation together and everything, I was looking at the numbers that we've worked with as an organisation since we started. So I started the programme in Mary Court School in 2016, and it was actually called "I'm a Celebrity, Keep Me in Here," because the school had got in touch with me, and honestly, hell, the school had got in touch with me and asked me would I run programs for their young girls that was all arguing, and there was a lot of fighting going on in the school, and they wanted someone to coach them on settling in, getting them ready for the GCSEs. So I interviewed all the girls individually, and then I didn't have a name for the program because I'd been running programs for adults but not for young people.
Yeah.
And I'm a Celebrity was on the TV, and I thought, I'm gonna call it I'm a Celebrity, Keep Me in Here instead of Get Me Out of Here. So, and
Brilliant.
that's where it came from. So the program then evolved over the time. So I sort of went into working with corporate organisations like HSBC, BNY Mellon, mainly financial institutes. I started working in community and working with Sheila K Fund,
Yeah.
Sheila K Foundation rather, and working with getting people back into work. And then about 2019, I started working with people in recovery from addiction, and that sort of spiraled really, really. I was really busy in the last, so up until 2 years ago, I was running programs for primary children called A Book for Little People. All
Yeah.
of this is based on personal development. It's to help people grow internally and help them identify the skills that they've got that they can use that they wouldn't ordinarily find or identify themselves. And by going on the program, it helps them to look at themselves and look at what skills they've got, look what qualities they've got, and how they can use them to be successful. So for me, it starts from primary, because
Yeah.
if you look at the likes of Rishi Sunak, Tony Blair, Keir Starmer, all their children are being prepped from 5 and 6 years of age. Our habits are formed from 5 and 6. And the type of habit that we form, that becomes our future. So their kids are being primed from 5 and 6 about what they want their future to look like. Our kids that are born into council estates like I was are expected to fit into a box like I was expected to fit into a box. And that for me is unfair. I feel that if we can give these kids what the Prime Minister's kids have got, what ex-Prime Minister's kids have got, people who've got money, their kids have got, we've all got a chance. All those kids are given the same chance, because how many kids go unnoticed that go to
Yeah.
the state school, and they've got so many skills and gifts and talents that some people will never see. But if
Yeah.
we can help them identify that from a young age, it helps them. So I started running the book for little people. I was running programs for teenagers, which is the Open the Doors program, and I was also running for adults. By the time 2022 came, and we found out in 2020 Joseph was in addiction. So for the last 4 years, it's been a really difficult 4 years. And you both know the story behind it, because
Yep.
we've spoke quite openly about it. But the last 2 years were very difficult, because I had to walk away from the adult programs because it was too close to home. It was really difficult for me to focus because of the impact on us as
Yeah.
a family and on Joseph. But what it did for me, it made me research even more about the impact of addiction on communities,
Yeah.
and it sort of made me focus that much stronger, and gave me more of a mission. My job's not a career, it's not a job, it's not a career, it's not a vocation, it's a mission, because I don't ever want another family to go through what we've been through. I know I'm not naive enough to think that I'm gonna save everyone in the world, but if I can save one person from addiction
Yeah.
and one person from getting involved in drugs, then
Yeah.
my job's done. So for the last 2 years, I've been working in preventing young people from getting involved in county lines and
Yeah.
addiction. I've been working across schools, colleges, and now I'm working with universities
Amazing.
in Liverpool. I've been working with different students and sharing Joseph's story, our story as a family, and the impact it's had on us. And then the 10-week program, the 6 week program, because it was originally a 10-week program, and we realised we didn't need to do 10 weeks. We can condense it down into 6. So it's now a 6 week program. And I've been doing that for the past 2 years, and it's been absolute. I love it. I said before, I thrive in the classroom.
Yeah.
I absolutely love being with young children, young people, because when you help them to identify their skills, and when you get someone in a classroom week one go, what's this all about? I don't even want to sit in here. I want to leave. At the end of the 6 weeks, does this really have to finish?
Yeah.
That's what you get 6 weeks later, and that's them telling me, "You know what?" And sometimes it's been difficult because we don't always get the funding, and sometimes I feel like throwing the towel in, and I've also been threatened because of the work that I do, but there's nothing in the world that can stop me from doing it. Fear doesn't stop me. The
No.
funding, if sometimes I get funding for 10 young people, I bring 20 in, because
Yeah.
that if them kids need that program, they are getting that program, even if I have to fund it myself,
Yeah.
because I can't let those kids not get on that program. So I've also I've started writing my fifth book, and I'm still not
Have
even
you?
halfway. Yeah, I'm still not even halfway through that. I've
Can
finished
you
university.
share what it's about ish?
Yeah, it's called A Mother's Pain, and it's about addiction and the impact on families, but also it's about not knowing and not having the tools to recognise that Joseph actually struggles with mental health from a young
Yeah.
age, and I didn't recognise it. So it's really to help parents identify if any of the signs that and spot the signs young enough. Also, we know Joseph's on the spectrum now, but we didn't know then. So
Yeah.
it's to help identify or spot any of the signs of young people on the spectrum or young people who are struggling with mental health because we used to make reference to, oh, he's just miserable, he's serious. Joseph, why don't you smile? All of these things that you think were innocent, that was part of Joseph struggling. And
Was a
didn't
something.
I didn't recognise that. And I feel guilty at that hell when I look back now because as a parent, the most important job for me has always been a mum. I'm rubbish at being a wife. I'm absolutely rubbish because I can't cook. I'm
Good job,
absolutely
Barry's good at being a husband, isn't it?
I know. Isn't it just? Isn't it just? I'm absolutely rubbish at cooking. But a mum, it's the most important job to me in the world. So
Yeah,
sometimes I think, did I let him down by not recognising that? It's only through the courses that I've been on and the work that I do myself and the research I've done now that I know. And that's why it's become a mission because I never want another family to go through, another individual to go through what Joseph's had to go through to get to where he is today. So
yeah.
that's been my full focus for the 2 years. And I'm not really sure how I got through the degree, but I actually got a 2-1 in politics,
Woo!
yeah, politics
Oh,
and
amazing.
creative writing. And I can't even stop there because I'm doing my masters at the moment. I started that last February. I'm doing it in social policy, and again, it's focused on um, the impact of addiction, the impact of county lines on families and communities across the UK. Because it's not just about the drug addict; it's about the
No,
people that are dragged in and exploited
yeah.
into dealing drugs
So,
and into
and there'll be a few people who don't who've never been maybe not heard of county lines or what it is. And I've just so I'm now the safeguarding lead for in the school. So over the summer holidays, I've done loads of training about safeguarding and so I've done a lot in sports and that's but now it's got to be done in education. And they speak a lot about county lines and vulnerabilities because the young people who we're working with are the social, emotional, mental health young people
yeah,
who tick every single box really for county
yeah.
lines. So, would you explain what county lines is, just for anyone who's listening who maybe doesn't know what it is?
Yeah, so it's young children, young people being exploited by gang members, by organised crime gangs to deal drugs. It may be in their own city, but more often than not, they're recruited to go to different parts of the country and sell these drugs for them. And they'll be forced into it to be exploited. First of all, it'll start off with it's mainly young people that you've just spoke about, Helen. Kids who are
Yeah,
at risk of mental health, kids who are on the spectrum.
on the
They're the
spectrum. Yeah,
vulnerable kids that will
yeah,
be targeted and will be exploited because they're vulnerable to being exploited in that way. They'll be promised all kinds of stuff. To be promised, you've got us as a group now to support you. They'll be promised money. They'll be promised clothes. They'll be promised food. What happens with them? They'll be transported to another part of the country, which could be as far as Aberdeen. As
yes,
far as Aberdeen, left in a trap house. It's called a trap house. It's a crack den where
yeah,
drug addicts will be living. So they take over the house, the gang members, and they'll put a young person in there. Now, I don't know whether either of you see it quite often on Facebook. There's kids going missing
yeah.
constantly,
14,
constantly go
15 year
missing.
olds, aren't they?
Yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
see that.
as young as
Mm,
Yeah.
12 now. I mean,
yeah,
some kids they're being exploited from 10 years of age now, and this is why I'm working with year 8 at the moment because kids
yeah,
as young as 9 and 10. So in the cost of living crisis, gang
mhm,
members were going to families and saying, "Give me your child, and I will pay your electricity bill."
yeah,
And that's what was happening. So more often than not, these are kids that may be in care, so they're more vulnerable to it. Kids
mm,
whose parents may be in addiction, so they haven't got no one there to support them and say, "No, that's wrong." It's usually those type of kids that they'll go for. So they'll be transported to different parts of the country, and they'll be forced into selling drugs, and they'll also be forced to hide them on the body. So kids will either be expected to transport them in the behind, and if they're not doing that themselves, the drug dealer will do it for them. So the amount of trauma and pain that these kids are witnessing. I'm working with a young man now, and this man is 26 now, and he was groomed from 13, and the things that he has seen and witnessed. So he was smoking. So, and a lot of young people get involved in it because he starts smoking cannabis at 13 and 14, and they don't recognise that that's the gateway drug. And
Yeah.
what they witness, they end up on stronger drugs because they can't deal with the trauma of it for the things he witnessed. The things this young man has witnessed, he needs professional help. I'm working with him on planning his future, but he needs professional help with a psychiatrist because of the damage and the trauma that has come from what he was expected to do and what people were making him do. It's horrendous. So the only way that we can avoid that is to educate people, young people, as young as possible. And that's where I work with Merseyside Police. They fund part of the projects. The colleges now, they pay me to go in. The schools pay me themselves to go in because they're seeing a bigger number of kids getting involved in it. And it's quite terrifying at the rate. When I did my dissertation for my degree, there was 27,000 kids from the Dame Carol Black report in 2020. There was 27,000 kids involved in county lines. Today, there's 49,000 kids involved with 330,000 on the periphery.
It's incredible.
It's quite terrifying numbers.
Yeah.
The drugs industry is worth 9.4 billion.
Wow.
So it's never going away. It's never going away.
No.
But,
No.
but
No.
we've gone back to Dickens' time and Oliver Twist, where kids are being manipulated and exploited, and it's modern day slavery. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
These kids are getting forced into modern day slavery. I had another young man deliver his talk for me to the pupils in the school. He got groomed from 13, and he got arrested and was looking at 10 years in prison. He was 19, and he got off with it because of modern day slavery. He'd been groomed and he came from a lovely family. It's not
Yeah,
just
it's not just, is it? And quite a
no,
lot of them will target somebody. So say, for instance, a young person is into it, and then the gangs will go and threaten the parents. And they'll
that's
say, listen,
exactly what
you need to
happened.
give us
Yeah,
£20,000 to let your
yeah,
child go,
yeah,
go free, and we'll stop using them as
yeah.
a drug dealer.
They're
And then
they're used as
families,
mules.
yeah,
Yeah, they're used as mules.
yeah,
As well as being a drug runner, they're used as mules, and it's horrendous at some of the stories that you hear. And some of the kids at the age of 10 and 11 that I speak to and 12, they can tell me what all the drugs are, what all the names are for certain things. They know everything about it. And that's scary because when I was 10, I didn't know about drugs. I didn't
yeah,
have a clue. I was playing with dolls and
mm,
stuff. So for these kids to know and understand about it, we're in scary times.
yeah,
And what worries me is the fact that, you know, we've just had a change of government, and Labour for me are not much different to Conservative. But the way things have happened over the past 3 to 4 months, it's horrendous what's happened. But what worries me is the people that will eventually be going to the likes of Eton College and Cambridge and Oxford, who were all brought into government. That's where all government ministers come from. That's where all MPs come from. The only people with money that will be able to afford all that will be drug dealers. And it'll be their kids that will one day and could be one day run this country. And that absolutely terrifies the life out of me because if they're coming from families who are living off the back of people's pain, who've got no empathy or compassion, what kind of world will we be living in?
yeah. We were talking about that today. We were talking about, how some gang cultures, So they'll pay for the education of social workers. They'll pay for the education of barristers and lawyers and things, so that they are then there to represent them. And how, and so because they've paid for their education, they then owe them, and it's and I think it's the impact you were talking about, Ange. People don't understand the impact of that what's happened is, and I was reading something. So most children are excluded from school. So they want them to stay in school or some sort of provision. I think it's something like 8 out of 10 children who are excluded from school will end up in like the criminal system, because they're excluded when they're 13, 14, 15, and then they don't go to school, so they've got nothing to do, and then they don't have that sense of belonging, they don't have that place to go to. So we'll get do you want a bacon butty, and the bacon butty then leads on to something else, which leads on to a pair of trainees, and then all of a sudden these gangs have given these kids a pair of trainees, a new tracksuit, a new mobile phone, a bike, and then they own them.
It's called debt bondage as well. So they use the term debt bondage so that those kids are in debt to them then, or whatever they give to them. And what I explain to the kids, everything they give you, you take it all back and they pass it on to someone else. It's not yours, it's on loan to you whilst you're being their runner, whilst you're being their mule. And as soon as you go, I don't want to do this, you're not getting out of it that easy. It's not that easy to get out of. The only way, and I spoke, one of the young kids today said, I asked about if your friends were asking you to do something, what would you do? And his words to me were, I'd love to say no, but I'd be a little bit scared as well. And it's also about fitting in. Some kids will just do it to fit in. My own son, Joseph, who struggles with mental health and addiction, he wanted to fit in. We had a really good talk last week, and he said, Mum, I was angry with you because you wanted me to be different. And he said, we put him through lip hell because that's what he wanted to do. He said, he says, I thought, well, how can I be an actor when I'm growing up in Anfield? And I felt out of place. And I was angry with you because even though I wanted to do it, I didn't expect you to do it for me. I said, because I wanted you to have the opportunities that I didn't. Because I was one of those kids that had dreams and grew up on a council estate. And my mum and dad could never afford stuff like that for us. There was 6 of us. So they were only ever dreams. It was never going to come into reality. But I wanted to ensure my kids had that chance. And I said, Joseph, if I've put any pressure on you, I haven't meant to. I just wanted you to follow your dreams. He says, I know that now, but I couldn't see that then. He says, I was thinking, why can't I just fit in? Why can't I be like everyone else? He said, and then I started acting out the same way as them and the mental health. Then he tried to get in the army at 16 and he had eczema, and that's what stopped him getting in. He left school with 19 GCSEs and a business diploma. So all of these kids that I'm working with today, every group that I work with, I see a Joseph. I see a Joseph.
And there's quite a lot of neurodiverse, isn't there? Part of being neurodiverse is fitting in. They're quite good at mimicking and masking behaviours and mimicking behaviours and changing themselves to be like those people because they want to fit in. They want to be one of the cool kids or
that's
whatever.
How they get, and that's
so
how
you see that quite a lot.
And that's how they fall into
And I've seen your work over a few years now. And what sets you apart from everyone else, I think, is the authenticity of it. Because you've walked the walk yourself. When you deliver it, you know what you're about. And you also bring speakers in, the likes of Peter Edge, who's a policeman, who knows the score about everything you're trying to do. And my point is, you'd think schools would be queuing up for this kind of thing, but it doesn't seem to be the case.
No,
is there a reason for that, you think? Or
money is a big factor in that, Des. It plays a big factor because the schools don't have lots of funding, do they? And sometimes it's difficult, even when you've got the funding, for them to choose the right kids. I mean, it's
Yeah.
constant emails that, I get funding for some schools, and even trying to get the schools on board who
Mm.
don't have to pay, that's quite difficult because they are set by certain rules and regulations, and trying to fit it around the curriculum is quite difficult.
Curriculum,
See,
yeah.
I think the good thing about the school you're in, Hell, and the schools, the provisional ones that have the alternative provisional ones I've gone into, you can sort of set your own curriculum to a degree, and you can fit it in, which I think is fantastic in them schools because the curriculum is 300 years old, and it doesn't work for everyone. It's not one shoe fits all.
Yeah.
I believe that we should be working on individual kids and their dreams rather than making every kid fit into a certain box like what I was meant to fit into.
Mm.
My mum was a cleaner, my dad was a demolition man. I was expected to be a cleaner. I'm not
Yeah.
calling cleaners because my sisters love it.
Yeah.
My mum loved it, but I didn't want to do it. But
Yeah.
that was the expectation because of where I grew up, and that's the same for every kid. So when you go in, I bring in Peter Edge, but I also bring in people who've been in addiction and have come out of it. They share their story about what
Yeah.
addiction did to them. I bring
That's what I
in,
mean. It's all real. It's
yeah,
all
it's real
real,
life
isn't it?
stuff. Yeah. And
Yeah.
then I bring in the last, when we finished in July, I brought in a lecturer from John Moores University, a senior lecturer who grew up on a council estate in Skelmersdale, started out as a youth worker, and now she's head of criminal justice. And her story
Amazing.
was amazing. It was absolutely
Yeah.
amazing. So the kids know then, look, if I
Yeah.
grow up on a council estate, I can be that head of criminal
Yeah. Yeah.
justice. I can be that
That's
police officer,
yeah.
or I can be that
And
writer because,
Mhm.
going back, and I know it's about money, but again, the government can always find money for things if they want to.
yeah.
I
But
think I'll probably
ultimately,
just
then,
leave it there. But
yeah,
you
yeah,
kind of get me point. Yeah.
yeah.
I think what's
Ultimately, then,
happening now is um I think moving forward, because it is such a problem, and I think people are now realizing what the impact of it is, and it's a lot on social media as well, and they'll find these young people using social media. So there's a big, massive
Mm.
campaign now where the police are involved, and they're
yeah,
searching through social media because these gangs are grooming children on social media to
they're
then come
actually
and
on Snapchat.
Snapchat.
They're offering them jobs, and they're saying,
Mm,
"Do you want to earn a bit of money?" That's how they're
yeah,
recruiting these kids.
because it
And
disappears after a certain amount of
yeah,
seconds.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so they're onto it, and I think a lot of us. So I've read upstream, and it's upstream thinking. So, and Angela's doing exactly that. Is if we can get the primary school children understanding it as they get older, they'll understand what's going on before they do it, and that takes a
yeah,
long,
Yeah.
long time.
yeah,
But for
Yeah.
schools, you need forward-thinking head teachers and senior leadership
yeah,
teams, people who've maybe had an experience of something, in their own lives, and realize how important it is. Because there's lots of people who go, "Oh, they're just a drug addict," or "or
yeah,
they must have chose it. They must have,"
yeah,
and they don't choose that life. That life, is forced upon them, and
yeah.
or they're from this sort of family. Oh, it's the you know, and you can't be any
You get
further
all that.
from the truth, can you?
Yeah,
It's and so I think we need to change people's perceptions of
mm,
um what drugs are, how they're used, how the drug industry works.
yeah.
It's a business in itself.
It is. Well, when you're talking 9.4 billion, no one wants to
Mhm.
give that up, and a lot of
No.
organisations are built on the back of it. That's the
Mhm.
problem, and that's
Yeah.
across the world. It's not just it's in Liverpool,
Yeah.
it's in Manchester, it's across
Oh,
the
it's
world.
everywhere. Yeah.
There's a lot of organisations built on the back of drug money, so no one will be willing to give that up at all. And
Yeah.
the thing is, it's costing. It's worth 9.4 billion. It's costing the UK government 20 billion a year. to deal with, all the pressure on the emergency services, everything that comes with it, the crime and everything, and the hospital stuff and everything that comes under that banner. Yet only 600 million is spent on recovery. So what does that tell you? So in the 80s, Labour government took responsibility for addiction and they dealt with it. It was arm reduction. Once Conservative got in, Ian Duncan Smith decided to make it private. So private organisations, like all of the private sector now of the charities and everything, started getting funding to help people come out of addiction. But what they were told was you only have to keep them clean for 6 months. So they were kept clean whilst they were in that rehab or wherever they were going. Once they left that rehab, as long as they were clean for 6 months, they'd done their job. If they got back on drugs the day after the 6 months, that had nothing to do with the rehab. So they were sent off with no forward plan of how to build a life, and it's still happening today. It's still happening today because my Joseph went into a rehab, and he wasn't given a plan of action of how to build a life once they come out of rehab. Because those doors, it's a revolving door. It's the
Because they
same
want them
thing.
back. These repeat customers, isn't it?
Yeah, and they're keeping jobs. There's people being kept in jobs from people going backwards and forwards into these rehabs. And that for me is not good enough. They are someone's children. They are someone's sons and daughters. And that's what opened my mind up to it. The amount of research that I've done on it has been unbelievable. For me, the only way to meet this head on is to follow what Switzerland and Portugal have done and legalise every drug. That's the only way for me because what's going in the if anyone took pure heroin or cocaine, they would die. They would absolutely die. There's all kinds in it. There's all kinds of different soap powder, oil, petrol, all
Rat
kinds.
poison, all sorts, isn't there?
Everything.
Mm.
So to make as much profit as they want, as they can make. If it was legalised and it was, I mean, I'm part of a focus group now in Parliament. I go to Parliament every quarter.
Yeah.
And if it was for as what ideas we can come up with to reduce the impact of it. If it was legalised, you would know where they're getting the drugs from and that they're being able to take them in there. And they've also got naproxen, I think it's called. I can't remember the word for it, but it's an antidote to stop an overdose. So if someone is allowed to take the drugs, they can get the needles from places, but they're not allowed to take the drugs on the premises. But they can go around the corner and overdose on it and die. That can happen. But if they're able to take that drug inside those premises and they were given the drugs by the government, then you know what's in that drug. And eventually it's safer, and you can also eventually they come round to talking and speaking with you and seeing how they can get off the drugs and get the support that they need. But there was this one company that over a 15-year period after them, so their turnover was 2.1 million. Over a 15-year period of when Ian Duncan Smith actually privatised it all, they was getting all the funding and everything, and their income, their turnover went from 2.1 million to 160 million over 15 years.
Wow.
And all they had to do was keep them clean for 6 months. And if the people died, that was a result. That was a result. And that's why I can't give up what I'm doing, because if I can stop one young person selling drugs, I'm stopping a family like mine being destroyed. I'm stopping a
100%.
community being demolished, because I grew up on an estate that was absolutely ravaged by heroin. I grew up on an estate up until the age of 16 was the most beautiful place to grow up. Everyone supported each other. You had friends that would last a lifetime. By the time I got to 16, the estate was cut into two. One half was selling drugs and one half was taking drugs. And we were quite lucky that we had a really strict dad. My mum was laid back and the most lovely mum that you could ever wish for. But my dad was really strict, so we wouldn't have dared touch anything. And
Yeah.
I thank God now for the parents that I was given, because so many families were destroyed by it. I didn't know all those years later that my own family would be destroyed by it. I really didn't. And that's what's given me the drive to keep doing what I'm doing, because if I can start it from, it's getting younger, so if I can start it with primary school with a book for little people, and that's to help them develop confidence and self-esteem, but also give them public speaking skills
Yeah.
from a young age, and also writing and the creativity. You know what I've found, that since I've been working in this arena, working with people in recovery from addiction, including my own son, every single one of them are very creative.
Yeah.
Every single one of them. And I think sometimes, was it that played a part in their demise into drugs? They didn't know how to release that creativity.
Yeah.
So part of my program is getting them to write down, in whether it be in poetry, whether it be in a story. I get them to write it down in some form. They can write it in a song, but releasing that creativity in them. And we've all got that inside us. It's just sometimes we need a little bit of help to find it. And that's what part of the program does, especially the primary school one for the young people. I get them to write their page. We do like a poetry, and I get them to write their page out, and then we turn it into a poem for them, and we get it published. So I
Oh,
have
it's
I have
amazing.
8 young people on that program, and they all get their own page. So the from I in the back of the book of it, we've got a word search, and each of them, it's all based on personal development. They'll choose a word, and they'll write a little sentence on it. We'll turn that into a poem, a rhyme rather, and then I'll get them to choose a picture that resonates with that word, and we put the picture in the book. They draw the picture, and everything on that page is their work. Every
Oh, which
single
is lovely,
thing.
isn't it? And then to be
Yeah,
printed, it's like something to be proud of, isn't it?
yeah, and
Which is
that's
amazing.
helping them to develop all those skills. And then the secondary school program is very similar to the adult one, but tailored for their age group. And it's all about them developing the growth within, understanding the importance, and the the amount of time and effort we put into our own emotions, and
Yeah.
getting them to understand about emotional intelligence and resilience. A lot of our choices and decisions we make are all based on emotions,
Yeah,
and getting
definitely.
them to understand and recognize what those emotions are, what they represent. And it's okay to have them emotions, but not to stay in them.
Yeah.
And a lot of young people stay in them, and that's how they find themselves on this trajectory of a downward spiral, and falling into, whether it be addiction or selling drugs. Either way, it's going to impact them. But from 9 to 13, hell, our brains are forming,
That's right.
and the problem we have, they can have too much dopamine, which puts them at risk. They can have
Yeah.
too low dopamine, which can cause depression. So getting that right, and getting them to understand that from that age group up. And I think this is where Joseph was. There was a chemical imbalance in his
Yeah.
brain, and that's what happens with a lot of them. If we can tap into that from primary and get them to understand it, that can stop affecting them as they get to teenage years, where they're at
It's
risk of being exploited and dragged down the
yeah,
wrong path.
amazing. My uncle Ron's listening, and he says, and what's been the result of countries and states that have legalized certain drugs?
Switzerland is absolutely fantastic. So Switzerland was at a point where they couldn't, where we are now. And what Switzerland have done, this was originally what Britain were doing, and it changed. That's what I was getting to earlier on. It changed to the private sector, and it went out of the government's hands and stuff. And in Switzerland, the crime has gone right down. In Canada, not so good. Not so good in Canada, but I think it's how it's managed. The crime
Yeah.
rate is very, very low in Switzerland and in Portugal, because it's managed in the correct way. So it would depend on the country. You know, if we want to go down a route of it. So what I've done for my PhD application, I'm using Switzerland and Portugal, but also using parts of Canada of how they're managing it. If we go down the route of Switzerland and Portugal, we can be successful in reducing the impact of drugs on people's families. It's not just the families, it's the communities. You know, the amount of crime that's going on, businesses that are getting robbed day in, day out and ending up
Yeah.
going into liquidation because they can't deal with what they're losing. The impact is it's unmeasurable. You cannot measure it. So part of my dissertation for now, I'm doing the economic impact on businesses. And that's what I'm
Right.
working on right now for the impact of county lines on it. So what mine's based on for this dissertation is the economic impact, the psychological impact, and the impact on the community as a whole. They're the social impact. They're all um the themes that I'm going with for the impact of county lines across the UK.
Amazing. Well, the time has flown tonight. That's our hour is done. How funny. Angela's tea will be freezing.
I know.
But we haven't done all the rest of it, but we haven't got time. But Ange, you're going to have to come back on again once you've done your PhD to give us another update. And we wish you and we wish Joseph and everybody else, the best of luck. And, with the love and support of everybody, we know that he's going to succeed. So we're absolutely delighted that you got that good news. We're just going to ask you to close the show with a mantra, closing quote or something that maybe you share with the young people. And if people want to get in touch with you, Ange, if I just share your details, anybody who wants to get in touch about the programs, whether they want them in their schools or communities and things, we'll share the details so they can get in touch.
Yeah. I don't have great big fancy words, Al. I just think that we are capable of anything we choose to put our mind to. So I believe that the impossible does become the possible. The I
Lovely.
and the M don't need to be in front of possible. Just
Yeah,
remove
I'm
them
possible.
because
Yeah.
anything is possible. And thank you. And I really want to hear all about your journey into leadership and management in uni. I'm just so pleased for you and can't wait to
Oh,
see
thank
your
you.
journey unfold. And thank you
Thanks.
both for having me.
Thanks, Ange. Thanks for joining us.
Good.
And thank you
Nice
to
one.
our gorgeous Des. And we will see everybody next week.
Okay.
Thank you very
I'll
much.
speak to
And
you